Welcome to Planet People, a podcast that aims to inspire curiosity and cultivate a deeper connection with the natural world.
We are thrilled to be sharing stories with you that highlight the beauty and importance of protecting our planet's wildlife.
Be sure to follow us on social media and your favorite podcast streaming platform so that you never miss an episode. Hey Planet People, we have a fun episode ahead of us where we got to interview one of our guests, Tim Shields,
who's a legend
in desert conservation, especially in the tortoise biology space. And we shot this episode from a dairy farm in Barstow, California.
in the middle of nowhere.
Quite literally.
I felt like I was coming along with you on your job sites because he just gave us a random coordinate.
That is like coming with me on the job site because
I was like,
usually
where
my client
are we
just
going?
sends me some coordinates and it's like, be here at 5 a.m.
There was
That's
nothing.
exactly what
There
Tim
was
Shields
nothing
did.
around.
Oh no, just dairy farms. And it was funny in this episode, Tim kept calling them dairies.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, dairies? And he's just referencing all the dairy farms in the area that act as a subsidy for these predatory ravens that we talk about in this episode.
Yeah.
It's a great episode though. It's so interesting to me because we talk about the human component of conservation, gamifying conservation, which I know is so exciting for you. And this conservation effort that his company is putting forth with Ornilogic is so impressive. What's unique about Tim is his technological approach to advancing conservation technologies, which is kind of like a term, CT, conservation technologies. And so I would read about these different types of CTs in school when I was getting my master's, but never have I seen anything actually work on the ground the way that we saw how Tim uses these technologies in real time.
Yeah.
A laser gun, a non-lethal laser gun.
Yeah, non-lethal. That's a really important piece.
To ward off ravens.
Yeah, to ultimately protect desert tortoises.
Especially how ravens are this native invasive predator because they naturally occur in the desert, but what makes them invasive is their population numbers have exploded. And that unnatural influx in predators is wreaking havoc on desert tortoises because this type of raven, the desert raven, has adapted unique skills to hunt the desert tortoise. And so we get into it in this episode. We share some amazing statistics and facts about this raven tortoise relationship and how humans are right in the middle of it.
And before we get into it, I do want to say it was so fun being with Tim, and he let us actually use the lasers on some ravens, which was so cool. And we got to be like little gamey conservationists out there.
It felt like a video game for a second.
Yeah, it did. And also another fun element to this episode is Tim is like the desert tortoise Batman. Like, the ravens were not there. They recognize him. And to me, that was just hilarious.
It was hilarious. And he thought it was funny, too, which just made the whole situation funny that he knows that he's, like, the villain in his own story.
So, freak or force ravens, what do we think?
A force of nature because of their large bills. They can do anything with those things, like peck a tortoiseshell.
Yeah.
So that makes them forceful.
I think they're freaks because they make such an interesting sound. I'm going to insert it here because I can't do it.
You can also hear the hummingbirds behind us.
Yeah. I'm going to pretend, but it's like or something.
Yeah,
I don't even know.
Was it
decent,
good? But it's a much deeper, like, gurgling sound.
Yeah, and it's like, it has this like pattern in it. That's what I'm saying. I think they're freaks. And then they're also just like a symbol of like Halloween and spooky.
Yeah, there's some lore behind the raven for sure.
Yeah, they're a little freaky.
In that way, I get the freakiness.
I think they're a little freaky.
They're also incredibly intelligent.
Oh, yeah.
Which makes them like freaky smart. The fact that they can educate their little buddy raven friends about how
and
to
they can
avoid
recognize
predators.
like a face
and a truck and a gun.
Yeah,
they're
we see
honestly smarter than humans. Like, not smarter than humans, but like they can outsmart humans. Is my point.
Yeah.
their brains, there's been a lot of studies done on.
In a way,
bird
that's like a
brains.
force
Yeah.
of nature too.
Exactly. They
They're
coincide.
freaks and forces. We are out in the desert. We're really kind of out in the middle of nowhere in Barstow. And we are actually on a dairy farm. There's lots of wind gusts. There's some ravens here and there. We'll definitely get into that a little bit. But if you hear raven calls, if you hear, some cow mooing and gusts of wind, and then there's also a train nearby. So just
embrace all the sounds of the
Absolutely.
outdoor setting, right?
The soundtrack of the Central Mojave.
That's right.
Exactly.
And we are joined today by our very special guest, Tim Shields. Welcome to the show, Tim.
Thanks.
Tim Shields is a desert conservation biologist, spending upwards of 36 years now, you were saying, of studying desert tortoises. And he has been he has authored many scientific journals, been featured on the New Yorker, Los Angeles Times, and and the TEDx talk is really fascinating. So before I continue rambling, Tim, we are so excited to have you on the show
I
today.
had this person go up to me the other day. She goes, I'm a big fan of your work. And I just told her, she says, that sounds so weird. I mean, I was amused. I was really amused. It is funny to be a minor celebrity.
Well, you are well respected in the space, and it's really exciting to have you on. So thank you for being here.
Happy to do so.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your business and what you're doing out here in the desert?
I started as a strict desert tortoise biologist. I was assigned to go out, study tortoises on this square mile, mark them, follow them, observe their behavior, It was a start of a 35-year track of studying tortoises, at the end of which tortoises had declined to the point that I decided I have to try to do something to forestall the decline. And I thought the tools of technology are the way to help tortoises. And it was weird for a Luddite like me to decide that. It was also weird at age 58 to start a business.
Sure.
I had never thought about a business. So I founded a company called Hardshell Labs. It had a 10-year run that was really good. It has now morphed into a thing called Ornilogic, but it's basically the same people and the same spirit of applying the tools of technology to solve complex wildlife management issues, among which is tortoise conservation, and that's closest to my heart. The interesting thing is that the same technology that solves a problem for desert tortoises can solve a problem for somebody like this dairy operator who's losing probably $100,000 a year to bird predation on the grain. Mm-hmm. So there are ways to weave together, and there are technological innovations to be made that make sense not just from the conservation perspective. And if we align those interests, we can make progress on all fronts. And that's kind of like the business model. But the impetus is strictly because I'm madly in love with desert tortoises. This is all in their service. And if I can support that effort with commercial success, I'm all for it.
And what I love about what you're doing is it's non-lethal and it's not necessarily harmful approach to this management.
Yeah.
It's solving a complex social ecological issue, and that's something we talk a lot about on the show. And your work really highlights this interesting triangle that we'll get into today about ravens, tortoises, and the subsidies and how they all interact with each other in an extremely intricate and complex way. And I think it's fascinating that you bring in this point about, well, business owners are losing money because of this problem that's also affecting conservation. So if it's affecting conservation, what else can we do to benefit us? Because ultimately it has to benefit us in some way for
People to get on board.
Right,
Right,
exactly.
I mean,
Thank you.
I'm selfish in that I want tortoises to be on this planet because they make it a more interesting planet.
Absolutely.
So we are all motivated by self-interest, and it's a question, I think the trick, and I don't think it's all that difficult, is alignment of interests. It's like, how can I make progress toward my goal, but also help somebody else progress toward their goal, as long as the goal is not pernicious. How do we align our interests? And
Or unethical too.
correct. So if the technology we're working on can benefit this dairy farmer, or the manager of a landfill, or reduce the odds of airplanes ingesting birds into their jet engines and crashing. That can all be answered by the same set of technology, but for me the motivation is, and what we bring to it, and understand that it is not it is like a whole bunch of people, a bunch of engineers. My partner Craig Sherwood is a brilliant human being.
He's very entrepreneurial as well.
He's entrepreneurial, he's a manager, but he's also just a really nice guy.
He's a great person. I've had the
And
pleasure
the
of
people,
working with him.
right, and the people in Hardshell Labs were great too. I mean, it was just like the humans have been really great. But yeah, Craig Sherwood's great. He's running the business. It frees me up to be the mad inventor.
The mad scientist.
He's very inventive, and I'm better at business than I used to be. So he and I work really well together, but there's a whole crew of people who are just, and particularly shouting out the engineers. Working with engineers has been really fun. So we're, conservation technology, eco-technology, whatever you want to call it. But the thing I'm really interested in is what can we learn about systems by applying this stuff, and there's a lot to be learned.
Well, we're excited to get into it during this episode.
All right, let's have the discussion.
And so Tim brought us to this location.
Why
actually.
the heck are we at a dairy?
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about this location and why we chose it.
Well, I want to talk about the triangle between humans, ravens, and desert tortoises, because it's a very, I think it's fertile example of the effect that humans have on the planet and how it plays out. So, the very short version is that we subsidize ravens heavily because they're clever, opportunistic birds, and we are very generous with opportunities. We end up with a lot of energy resources that ravens can exploit, and they turn those into eggs, which turn into baby ravens, which fledge and fly away. And the raven population in the desert has exploded over the during my career. It's like so noticeable how many more ravens there are. And I may as well get out my first visual aid. This is a juvenile tortoise that ran afoul of a raven and basically kind of got torn apart. This is the conservation implications of having a lot of ravens in the environment, is that juvenile tortoises have a really hard time surviving to adulthood. And that's how I got into it, was like, okay, what can I do? After 35 years of watching the downward track of tortoise populations, I asked myself what I could do, and sort of looked at I was very familiar by then with the mortality factors, disease, shooting by human beings, getting run over by off-road vehicles, the subtler things like the replacement of native annual vegetation with invasive plants of lower quality. But the one that seemed, the problem that seemed most solvable and manageable was the raven predation problem, because it's a wild animal. By then I kind of, I had learned enough animal behavior that I thought, okay, there are going to be opportunities, and then it was a matter of searching for technology that would allow us to exploit those opportunities. So right now I'm working a lot on subsidy denial.
Subsidy. You guys say that very often in the episode, and ravens needing that subsidy. What exactly does that mean?
Subsidy is just support. You can have intentional subsidies. You can have subsidized housing, where people that can't afford housing otherwise get an added increment of money to be able to move into a place. But they can be unintentional as well. And in the case we will be talking about, unintentional subsidies largely to ravens that come in the form of basically freebies that we provide for them. So that's, when we say subsidies, we mean places like this dairy, which provides water, shade, food, social interaction, all of that. This is a subsidy, and this also is a roost. If we weren't here, there
They'd
would
be
be
roosting.
there would be 1,000, there would be 1,500
Yeah.
ravens here roosting. It's just overnight, sleeping overnight with a gang
The
of
big
buddies.
group. So another term that we use is roost.
Mm-hmm.
Can you guys define what that means?
Sure, it's a nightly gathering of large numbers of birds, and it's probably motivated by the desire to be in a large group so that if a great horned owl shows up, there's a general alarm. And so the larger the group you're with, on an individual basis, the less likely you are to be the victim of anything going on, and the more likely you are to hear about it before it affects you. So large groups of many birds, and crows do the same thing. There's a roost of probably 50 or 100,000 crows in the Santa Ana River down in the LA basin. So roosting is a common phenomenon, and it's common defense, but it's also information flow. It's a social opportunity. A bunch of stuff come. Yeah.
And so is the great horned owl their main predator?
They don't, man. Golden eagles,
Oh, okay.
great horned owls, maybe very occasionally a red tail, but that would be in a fracas.
Yeah.
Red tails won't. I've never seen a red tail go after them predatorially. There
So-
really isn't much.
So speaking of crows, that is a good thing to bring up. A lot of people mistake crows with
Yep.
ravens, and vice versa. What are the main differences between the two, and how can you tell the difference?
Size is the main difference. First of all, they're very closely related species, essentially sibling cousins. Ravens are considerably larger. The way I tell is the pace of wing flaps. Ravens flap about like this. Crows are about twice as fast. Crows are like that. So I watch when I'm at a distance, I see a blackbird flying, and I look at what's the frequency of the wing beats. So that's one way to tell it. But if you get close to the bird, ravens have a wedge-shaped tail. Their central tail feathers are much longer than the side tail feathers, so they have a wedge look. Crows are cut off, like the tail feathers are all basically the same length. And then the proportion of the size of the beak to the size of the head, a raven in profile, the beak comes like kind of straight off the top of the head and off the bottom of the head. So it's almost like the beak is a straight extension of the skull, whereas a crow has a brow. So the crow's beak is much smaller relative to the size of its head, so that it looks like it's got a beak sticking out of a head, whereas the raven just looks like a beak. In profile, there's no break between the beak and the profile of the head.
All right.
So ravens are much lower pitched call. They both caw, but ravens are much lower. Crows are kind of high pitched. And then crows tend to be in very large groups, ravens in smaller groups when they're foraging and cruising around.
Yeah. Awesome.
But everybody calls these things crows.
Yeah.
That
was the one question I had for her when we were driving here. I'm like, are there crows here, or is it just ravens?
They're very rare though.
Yeah.
It's like I see a crow about every 5 years, and they'll show up in Victorville sometimes, a little group of crows. I think the ravens just beat the shit out of them and scare them, and
This is
Ravens
their
typically
territory.
outcompete the crows.
they do here.
Yeah.
But you go to the Central Valley, ravens are increasing in the Central Valley, but crows, that's crow country there. But particularly in the winter, well, all year long ravens gather, but in the winter everybody gathers. Right now, a lot of the breeding ravens are distributed out in the desert still, but they're just about wrapped up with the breeding season. Now they will all start to gather at these subsidy sites. Sewage treatment plants, landfills subsidize ravens' lives. Electric utility towers provide great nesting opportunities. So that's another subsidy. An interesting one is shade trees. If you look, I play this game a lot. I look at the landscape and I remove all the human stuff, and then I look at in my mind. I remove all the human stuff and I look at what it's like, and it's really striking how little shade the Mojave has and how hard that is to be a black bird in a place without shade. And then humans come along and they grow these nice trees because humans like shade too. They don't want to be out in the sun. And so
We're one and the same.
Right, we are.
Yeah.
We're just like, we're very
It's crazy.
similar to ravens. But so it's just, how do we make their lives easier? And we do it in a lot of ways. and that's what subsidies are.
Well, just in that same light, it's kind of like we are parallel again with the raven, that we make our lives subsidized.
Correct. And we alter the Mojave to suit our desires, and it just so happens that in doing so we're subsidizing ravens massively, and that's why their populations have exploded.
Yeah, and you said 1,000%?
No one knows, but it's in several fold to tenfold. I think it's probably, well, here's the story. There was a museum, a guy at the San Bernardino County Museum of Natural History in the 40s went out to collect. In the old days, they'd go out and they'd shoot birds, and they would build a collection that showed, here are the local birds, and they would do it with stuffed specimens. He went out to get a Mojave raven, and he didn't do it to the exclusion of every other activity, but it took him 2 years to shoot a raven. That's how rare they were. And they were considered an uncommon bird.
And when was that?
1940s.
1940s.
1940s. And now they're almost certainly the most numerous. Horned larks are pretty numerous, but ravens are up there in terms of just sheer numbers, and that's a big ass bird.
Yeah.
So that's from subsidies.
Speaking of bird, is that a kestrel up there?
Nighthawk, I think.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. How do we deny ravens access to these resources, and in that way gradually reduce, and suddenly reduce in some cases, the density of ravens such that a guy like this can make it to adulthood?
And how old would you say that
This was
tortoise
about
was?
6 years old probably when it died. They have to run a gauntlet that's 7 to 10 years in duration when their shells, this is so cool, they're folded in half in the egg. So if you look at that, that's a hemisphere. If you fold a hemisphere in two, you get a sphere. So inside the egg, the tortoise is folded up like this, and it's going to unfold. In order to unfold, its bones have to be very flexible. It can't be stiff. It can't have a suit of armor if it's going to unfold itself, which is great if your environment isn't overrun with highly opportunistic predators at unnatural levels. Great, you can unfold and take your time for your shell to harden. The problem is they unfold, it's going to be 7 to 10 years before their shell can thicken up sufficiently to resist the attack of a raven. And even then, it's a long haul for a tortoise to survive many places in this environment. And so then you get, that's probably really good tortoise habitat over there, but in proximity to this many ravens, the odds of a little guy running the gauntlet are really low.
So would you say that adult tortoises have a, almost invincibility
No.
to
But
ravens?
To ravens, with one exception, there's a, this is how far into this stuff I am. There's one group of ravens that has learned to cooperatively flip adult tortoises.
Oh.
Is that right?
As an individual, they can't do it, but 2 or 3 of them, they can roll it. And then once they roll it, the cloacal area, basically the anal area in humans, but cloaca is what tortoises have, is vulnerable to pecking. And once the thing's upside down, the tortoise wants to roll its arms out and flip over, and that requires exposure. Well, if the ravens are hammering on it, it's going to stay tucked in, and even if they can't immediately kill it. It will die if it's inverted. So, I could see ravens just flipping it over and hanging around every time it tries to flip itself over, and it's got to extend its legs to do that. Bam, bam, bam.
Yeah.
So, other than that, probably pretty good. They're probably, because they do persist. Adults, there's a place near here called Kramer Hills, which has very high density of adult tortoises and essentially no juveniles, because they have, we're seeing the last generation of tortoises there because all the young are getting wiped out. And it's about 5 miles from here, 6 miles, something like that.
So what are some of these conservation technologies you're deploying to combat this raven predation issue with this whole desert tortoise human and subsidy schema? It's such a social ecological complex issue, really.
And the analysis is altering human behavior and all the infrastructure that has been established with no thought at all to worries about are we subsidizing this predator. Like, it was not when lattice work towers were built in the 40s and 50s, nobody was thinking about tortoises. But they're perfect nesting platforms for ravens. Same with the methods of handling grain at a dairy. I now know a hell of a lot about how dairies operate. And in order to process the tons of food, to make tons of the mix that the cows eat, they have to have open bins of grain, and the ravens move in. They particularly like almond hulls.
Is that right?
Yes. And so what do you do? And it's just like a number of serendipitous discoveries have been made, and one of them is that, and we were the ones that pioneered the use of lasers on ravens. Lasers were just starting to be used for bird repellent purposes, and I ran into a gentleman who built very high power, high quality lasers, and we tried them out on ravens, and lo and behold, they're the most laser sensitive species we've encountered.
And so when you say lasers, for our listeners that may not know what we're talking about, like, how exactly are lasers being used, like, physically to deter the ravens?
Well, here's another visual aid. This is a laser pistol. So this is a tool that we can use just in the field. A human operator can have this, and later on I'll demonstrate this and its effect on ravens. This is the simplest form, handheld. This is a really pretty sophisticated design, though. This is the result of about a decade of experimenting around and making an ergonomically comfortable.
Does that say Ornilogic on it?
Yes.
That's the name of your business.
That is the name of our
That's
business.
cool.
Yeah. So this is custom built. You can't we make these things, and so you can hold it in your hand, but then you got to be there. So that means one person per laser. That the economics of that are not ideal.
Right.
And where is the laser being, like, shot at? Is it at the ground?
It can be at the ground,
Okay.
yes. That's actually an interesting thing, is that I started off thinking I've got to shoot them, and I did. I shot a lot of ravens in the face or in their vicinity and got strong reactions. And now I'm a villain in this, a well-known villain. And actually, if I wasn't here,
you mean by the ravens?
Yeah, by the ravens.
Yeah.
There would be a couple of hundred of them right here if I wasn't here.
Oh,
and they
wow.
have gone away. These ravens know me.
They know your face.
They know my face. They know my walk. I tried to go in disguise once. Mas o menos. I changed the hat I was wearing, and I was in a group of people, and I came in a vehicle that wasn't my vehicle. In fact, I hid my vehicle.
Wow.
And they had me nailed in about
Wow.
20 seconds.
Oh my gosh.
And they must have
It
recognized
speaks to
my
how
walk.
sophisticated they are.
Oh, they're very sophisticated, and they're good at what they do. They're really
Did you
smart.
say they know your walk?
I figure that's what they recognized, because I consciously changed as much else as I could.
I bet it's your voice too.
I wasn't speaking though.
Oh.
Like I get out of this van, and like we were gonna go do a thing, and 20 feet out of the van, they're just like
Wow.
2/3 of the ravens that were on the site just fly away.
Is it true that ravens communicate with one another to identify that you are a villain to their like raven friends, so to speak?
Here's another story. So on that same day, there's a roost, a huge roost. We had 6,500 ravens there one time. It's about 15 miles south of here. And I took this crew, it was a film crew, to this place, and I had them all set up. Yeah, thousands of ravens are going to fly in here. They're going to land over there, and then we'll shoot them. Everything will be wonderful. And one raven, I'm in this group of people. There's like a dozen people, and I'm being as surreptitious as I can. And this raven lands up in this tower and just starts squawking. And I'm going, oh God, he's narrating that it's me.
He's calling to his friends.
Hundreds of ravens come down and make a right turn. They never make a right turn on their way to a roost. They fly dead straight to the roost.
They do.
And they got right over my head and like that.
Wow.
Hundreds of them. So I don't know. It was very coordinated and very weird that they all went the same direction. And
There's no happen chance of that.
You're like the desert tortoise Batman.
Well, here's
They know that
Yeah.
you're coming.
The villain.
Yeah.
and we're going to use that actually. We're going to use this phenomenon because I'm a cue. I cue a behavior. The cue I provide is you should go away. Bad things are about to happen, and there is like it's amusing, and people say, oh, we need 20 cutouts of Tim Shields put out everywhere.
Like the scarecrow
And it's like,
in the fields.
you're not far off, but we're not going to use me. But what this has demonstrated, and it was happenstance. I didn't do it on purpose. Like one day I got out of my car, no big deal, and 700 ravens just flew up.
Wow.
And there was a
That's
single
crazy.
event when that happened, and then it was like, oh, what is going on? And I've replicated the experiment time and time. I did it last night. I was at another dairy, and they know my car really well there. And I had a person with me, a coworker with me, and I just said, we're just going to stop the car. As long as the car was rolling, they were watching, and I can
Yeah.
tell when they're watching. But as soon as I stopped, and
Wow.
so 70% of them left. I never shot a laser. I never got the laser out. And so once the shy ones had split, there was still about a third of them left. And there was 300 ravens in a group that just like, we're out of here. They probably came here because this is another roost. And the rest of them, like the 90% of the remaining 30% left when I got out of my car and raised my hands. I just did this. I do this Y gesture, and away they went. And
Wow.
so they're eminently trainable. And this is part of the triangle, is that we've got one species, the raven, that just loves everything we do, and one species, the tortoise, that just seems to be allergic to us. Except we love the tortoises more than we love ravens.
That's
There
true.
are people who love ravens. Everybody loves tortoises.
How can you not?
And we're just hammering them just by being clumsy. And so I'm like doing a podcast like this is a way of addressing the gap in human awareness, because we're just clumsy. We're very clumsy. We're ecologically clumsy. And so there is work to be, you guys are doing work on that, on like the consciousness raising and, hey, what about this? And look at this connection. But we don't have time to wait for humans to catch on.
Yeah.
And so the work I'm doing is just like direct intervention with technology to break the cycle, and then we can work on human choices and human behavior and all of that. But without the breaking of the cycle, we're not going to have tortoises much longer.
Yeah. So circling back to the, like, how you're actually using the laser, you said that you started out with kind of beaming it at them in their eyes and stuff. And how are you primarily, like, what do you find is the most effective way using it?
Well, once there's a training period, I never got this because I'm talking around, but there's a training period where they pick up on it, and then you just have to show it to them. And so at that point, you don't need to shoot them with it.
Yeah.
You wave it in their vicinity and they see it and they go, I don't like that.
Yeah.
And you know, the step beyond that is training them to a cue and having them avoid the cue, having them avoid the suggestion that a laser is imminent.
And so whose hands are they being put into? Or is it mainly just conservationists in the field, or is it like, you know, for
One-man
instance,
show?
dairy farmers? Do you give them?
No, what we're doing, we're in a phase right now where we're keeping pretty tight control over how our lasers are used, because we know what we're doing. We've never had we have not had a single safety incident in 12 years. We just like have not blown it, and we're really careful about that aspect. And then we are also still learning. Like, this is a new thing, this is an incredibly complex operation. You got the cows, you got all the workers, you got all the machinery moving around, and you've got ravens just woven into it. It's complicated, and you have to be careful. The good thing is, you don't need, like, if you miss a shot,
Sure.
it's no big deal, because the entire community of ravens is accumulating experiences, and it seems to be additive, that it's a group phenomenon. The more they get shot at or near, the more paranoid they are, the more easily they are to manipulate. And so the total amount, the goal is just to reduce the energy and labor intensity of the effort and get the effect we want.
Would you say in 12 years of running this operation that you've seen success with your experiments in deterring raven behavior?
Monstrous success, great success.
What does that success look like?
It looks like 90 to 95% reduction of raven numbers at subsidy sites when we really hit one, and at a sewage treatment plant south of here. It's a sewage treatment plant and a composting facility combined, and we've worked 3 seasons there and gotten 90 to 95% reduction in raven numbers. And another activity we're doing that we help pioneer is raven egg oiling. If you get a little bit of oil on a bird's egg, it won't hatch. And we just actually are now wrapping up the egg oiling season, and that has been phenomenally successful beyond anyone's wildest dreams, because what we do is, we don't do it, but the system tracks raven numbers by doing randomized raven 360-degree raven counts, and so that's how you meter the effect. And starting around 2020, the numbers started to go down, and at first we just thought, it's a fluke, and now they're just like, year after year, they're going down in the areas we're intensively oiling ravens' eggs. We've gotten 35 to 85% reductions in raven numbers.
Wow.
And that almost certainly is translating into higher survival of tortoises, or lower mortality of tortoises to that cause.
And is that how you're configuring if this is positively impacting tortoises, because you're seeing less carcasses around raven nests, and you can document the impact that way?
Yes, and interestingly, I mean, the tortoise carcasses show up right as the eggs hatch, and the parent birds shift their foraging strategy radically once they have hatched eggs in the nest. Really, when they lay the eggs, they start to change, but when the eggs hatch, they click into this, I've got to protect these little things, and I've got to feed them from the area immediately around me. And if they're nesting, there was a nest I think on that pole this year. If they're nesting, and I think we oiled that one, and they didn't hatch. But if they're nesting there, it's like it's no problem getting food and water. If they're nesting 15 miles out in the desert, they have to depend on what's immediately around them. And if there are tortoises there, and raven eggs hatch right in the height of spring, and that's when tortoises come out to feed, because that's how they get big enough to resist the attack of ravens. Sure. So in order to avoid, it's a catch-22 for the tortoises. They've got to go out and eat, and in eating they're exposing themselves to raven predation, but if they don't eat, they don't get big enough to resist the raven. So it's, and of course this is well beyond what they, well, how do I know? I expect this is not a subtlety that the tortoises are at all aware of.
Sure.
They're just doing tortoise things.
Yeah.
And because we have altered the system so radically by loading it up with ravens, we have, essentially eliminated their ability to survive. So there's this multi-pronged attack. It's egg oiling, it's lasers, and then we have this little device called the techno-tortoise.
Ooh, tell us about that.
That is fake. I love this one.
Techno-tortoise? That's awesome.
The techno-tortoise is a fake baby tortoise. So you've got with 3D printing, you can create a model of a tortoise, and then so that alone was useful because that was used to measure raven predation intensity, because we found out very quickly that they are attracted to these things. They will attack them. They'll attack the models thinking that it's a baby raven. You pair it with a motion capture camera, and we've documented lots of attacks on passive models, and then we have active models that actually spray an irritant in the face of the bird.
Oh.
And of course the bird has, when it's attacking, it's got its beak down there, its eyes and its nostrils are all packed right there. Gets a shot of this chemical called methylantranolate, which sounds very, very ominous, but is actually derived from grape skins.
Oh, is it grape skins? Okay.
It's grapes. It's something in grape skins. They synthesize it now, but it just smells like god-awful concentrated grapes. But
it deters ravens, though.
Birds of all kinds, I'm told, it attacks a certain nerve in their face, trigeminal nerve, and just it must just be terrible.
Yeah.
Would you say it's comparable to getting sprayed with
pepper spray.
Pepper spray or something?
It's bird pepper spray.
Okay.
So anyway, you have this fake baby tortoise, and there's a mechanism under it such that when the raven starts hammering on it, it counterattacks, which is not something that any raven ever expects.
Right.
So there's a shock value too. And in fact, there's a shock value to a lot of what we're doing. Like, this is a shocking thing to them. All of a sudden there's this bright light.
Sure.
Having a drone fly up to their nest is shocking. And so there is a psychological, and it sounds like psychological warfare to a degree. It
does, doesn't it?
But because you have a psyche that is bright enough to get it, and you can shock them because they're paying attention.
Sure.
And,
clearly with you.
Yeah. and so I have to say this. I love ravens. I love them. They're so interesting. They're so smart. And like the guy yakking in the tower, and everybody takes a right turn. How can a biologist not love an experience like that?
Yeah.
Like, wow,
it's
what is
pretty
going?
fascinating.
They're so subtle.
It's pretty fascinating.
They're so subtle. So I don't hate them at all.
No, me neither.
But I really regret I regret that I can't enjoy them as individuals, because there's so damn many individuals.
Yeah.
It's like, we got to do something. We have to get it under control. And so I'm just trying to do that. And we have radios on 20 ravens.
Oh, do you?
And we're going to watch, coming up in the fall, there's a string of subsidy sites along this river, Mojave River, and we're going to hit them all simultaneously. It'll be the first sort of large-scale use of these tools, and it's going to be a 2 week to 2 month intensive hit them very hard here and see, can we remove them from a large chunk of the landscape? I'm absolutely confident we will.
And when you say like hit them hard, are you using all 3 of these technologies together?
We'll
Okay.
use all 3 of them. We'll start in the fall with lasers of a variety of types.
And what does that look like? Having like a few people at each nest, or
No.
are the lasers
this is
gonna-
pre-nesting. This is roosting. So in the winter, all the territoriality of nesting disappears, and they clump up in these giant groups. And one of the reasons these subsidies are so important to ravens and to the increase in raven numbers is that the young of the year have an easy time their first winter. First winter is the thing, that's what wipes out young animals. The first winter is the hard time. And when you've got something like these subsidy sites, and the parents can bring their young right to a subsidy site, know that they're going to have plenty of food and water, and then they can learn to be good ravens. You know, they're pretty dumb when they come relative to adults. That is also interesting to see how dumb the babies are. They're like little humans are kind of dumb compared to adults. They're wiser in a lot of ways, but they don't know how the world works.
Sure.
And it takes them time to get sophisticated and to fit in and learn a bunch of stuff. And so this is a really good, safe spot for them to get through that first winter. And that's why you get, massively increased survival of ravens due to subsidy sites like this.
Would you say there's an element to reducing the subsidy itself rather than just the bad behavior of the raven?
Yeah.
How can that come into play with conservation?
That's been done because garbage dumps used to just be open.
Sure, landfills
And
open,
thousands of ravens down there. Well, they've reformed their practices, and now they bury the trash at the end of every day. There's still ravens hanging around, but I work with a guy, Dr. Bill Borman, who's been doing raven tortoise work since 1990.
Is that right?
Like dedicated observations, And he talks about the old days. The dumps were just like,
oh my gosh, I can't imagine.
Yeah, like this on steroids.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, that cost money. The operators went and got bulldozers, and they've got to have a dirt supply to put over the trash and But it was a decision that the society made through regulation. It's like I don't know if the operators under the rules of capitalism would not have done that on their own.
Sure.
But when the regulations changed, like, okay, now we bury the trash at the end of the day, that was a major subsidy removal. But, you can do the easy ones. That was a relatively easy one.
Yeah.
This is harder.
Definitely.
We like businesses. We like humans like milk. We like milk products. You got to have cows to make milk. You got to feed the cows grain. You can't keep the grain completely. You can't do it. I've watched these operations. The cows have to have access to it, and in making it accessible to the cows, you make it accessible to the ravens. So that's where a laser can come in, and there are, back to the point earlier, there are many more efficient ways to get laser light in the vicinity of ravens than a single person with a single pistol. This is inefficient, but we're right now testing an internet-connected laser that allows
Remote
operation, and also a single human, I think, is going to be able to operate 10 or 20 of these things, or maybe more. Because as per site, as you educate the ravens and the raven numbers are reduced, then the potential to monitor more sites is a byproduct of that.
Becomes more of an efficient operation.
Correct.
And how would you say that involving this kind of remote operation with these lasers plays into sort of like gamifying conservation a little bit?
Yeah, you talk about that in your TEDx talk, which we really like.
Oh, yeah.
We're so close.
Yeah.
Yeah, we really like that idea of like
How does that look
gamifying
like now?
conservation and like
it's-
making it fun.
Got the machine.
Cool.
Haven't done it yet. We've got the machine, and we're going to learn how the machine works. And it's easy to say gamify.
Is that
how
the
do
right
you-
term to describe sort of the fun aspect?
Oh,
yeah,
no,
of conservation?
absolutely. I think we as conservationists have made we made a huge mistake.
Mm-hmm.
I'm old enough that I was basically, when I was 8 years old when Rachel Carson,
Came out with Silent Spring?
that was 62, so I was 7. I was set, so I basically, like,
Grew up,
that was the
yeah.
modern environmental movement, and I watched the whole thing evolve, and it turned into a bunch of Calvinists, like true believers, and I'm one of them. Like, I truly believe, like, we got to reform our relationship with our life support system and do it really rapidly. But in a situation like that, the preachy types and the screechy types
Sure.
come to dominate, or did in this case.
Sure.
And we've muffed this huge opportunity. Well, so far, it's like when I'm an evolutionary biologist. I look at the world through that lens, and when I sit back and I look at human beings, like, what is it about human beings? What's the hook? What is it about human beings? And I look and I, like, as soon as we have enough of the basic Maslow's
Sure.
hierarchy of needs, as soon as it's food and shelter, we start playing games.
Sure.
Like, that's the default setting. The default setting isn't we look around for something we feel guilty about and try to change it. We start playing frickin' games. It's like, let's take a clue. We environmentalists think our understanding of nature is so sophisticated.
It's so superior to...
Well, just turn the lens on your own species. What attracts people is fun. People don't want to get lectured at. They want to have fun.
Yeah.
And so I just think this is a very fertile realm to move into, and the technology makes it now possible for people. There are not nearly enough tortoises to go around for everybody to have an interaction with a
Sure.
tortoise. That's like, they are remote. And
It's a rare sighting.
they're so rare. I mean, you get that in the work you're doing. It's just like, it's a rare event. Like, oh, saw a tortoise today.
Even in the spring season,
Yeah.
when it's,
Right.
their prime season, we might see 2 or 3 throughout 3 months.
Yep. Oh, well, opportunities waiting to be exploited.
Sure.
That's what I want to do. That's what I'm going to do with the rest of my life, because that was the central insight right before that TED Talk was, oh man, we've just blown it.
Yeah, right.
And so the last 12 years, 10 years now, 11 years, is like the struggle to get the machinery
The solutions
to
on the ground.
do what the brain, it's easy enough to think, oh, let's make games and let's just have people be able to shoot lasers. A kid in Cleveland can be a tortoise biologist, tortoise conservationist, da-da-da.
Sure.
Easy to say, but when you're poor, it's basically we've done this on a shoestring.
As scientists
Yeah.
go.
We didn't have $500 million to dump on it, like Pokemon Go.
Yeah, sure.
Was
Yeah.
a close approximation. We actually scooped Pokemon Go in that TED Talk. I don't know if that came across. If you watch the very end of it, this guy helped us make an app where the raven would appear on their phone screen,
Okay.
and they would tap like this to poof the raven. And that was basically the concept of Pokemon Go for $5,000.
Sure.
Well, Pokemon Go, they probably had a couple $100 million to pull that off.
Yeah.
But it also does show that's the closest approach that the commercial gaming realm has made to getting people to interact with the environment. It was a
Absolutely.
little weird.
Yeah.
You mean
But-
Pokemon Go?
Yeah. But
Yeah, there's some weirdness there.
but it was like
It worked.
people were into it, and they were outside looking.
Yeah.
They're looking for these little things on
Yeah.
their phone screen, and so there was a phone in there, but they were out in the air, and they were getting exercise.
Yeah.
So, I just think we can. I think we can tap into a huge pool of human enthusiasm. That
And
has-
non-scientists crowd, right?
exactly.
And that's who you really have to pull in
Yep.
to understand what kind of impact needs
there was
to be
a
made.
there was a close approach also in protein structure analysis
Okay.
called Fold It. Fold It was a game that you had this shape and you just like fold it in different ways. Well, proteins are folded. They're very complexly wound up like spaghetti, and then the active part of the protein gets exposed somehow, and that's how proteins work. But then they're very complex. So anyway, they had the chemical formula for this protein. They didn't know exactly how it could be folded for maximum biological activity, and they turned it into a game. And
Wow.
these people were not microbiologists
Sure.
or chemists, organic chemists or anything like that. They just let people play with it, and I'll probably get this figure wrong, but it was something like they figure it would have taken them 200 years to solve a problem that they
Wow.
solved in 2 years, because they just released it and they let people play with it. And some people got obsessed with it. And it's like, wait,
Yeah.
maybe if I
Yeah.
twist it this way. and they solved the problem. They came up with the ideal conformation of this protein for biological activity based on people just doing a puzzle.
Sure.
So would you like to see this gamifying conservation in a sense of getting like the youth excited about conservation and more of like a fantasy
No.
world, or would you like to see it in real time, like we're
Impacting.
having a real time impact solution to issues? Like what are you?
I think the start is just the fun. If people are like, you lead with the fun.
Yeah.
You don't talk about conservation.
Yeah.
You don't talk about the nobility of the cause or any of that kind of shit. They're really used to that. They're really used to, like, you should use paper straws.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think
You
we
are
should use
on-
paper straws. But people are so used to being lectured at, and they're used to like being tricked into being good. And I just like, some people, I want to exploit everybody for this cause. I want to exploit their love of fun. And there will be a certain set of people who play these games who will never give a rip about conservation.
Sure.
Fine.
Sure.
But the door will be open. Here's my bet. I've spent my entire life as a field biologist. This planet is just blow away interesting, fascinating, complex, incomprehensibly intricate, and we live on it like a bunch of dunderheads because we've created a very simple system. This dairy is massively more simple than the hills beyond it. We live in boring landscapes. We make boring, safe landscapes, and we become boring, safety-oriented people. And there's a hunger in us for complexity. I think the games are a way to introduce people to complexity, because the game there could be a management game. How do you deploy lasers at a place like this using the fewest lasers to get rid of the most birds? That's a puzzle.
That's a great question.
And it's a puzzle I've been working on.
Yeah.
And I know that's, you could turn that into a game. You could turn that into the incentives of a game.
Sure.
Like, okay, figure this puzzle out. And that's an opening. And then there are a bunch of people who don't know that they will fall in love with the planet, but they will when they're exposed to it, because it happened to me.
Sure.
And I look at a lot of people and I just feel sorry for them that they don't love the planet. I don't love it very well because I'm a modern American driving around and frickin' climate killer.
Sure.
And, eating food from I don't know where and packaging from I don't know where. I'm no saint. But I do love this planet. I mean, I'm in love with tortoises. They're so freaking cool. I'm in love with ravens. It's a problematic love. But I do love their spirit and their being. And my bet is that there is a vast thirst in people for this. There's another aspect that I'm really intrigued with. AI.
What is that?
AI is like, everybody's like, oh my God, the robots are going to take all the jobs. And they will. There are a bunch of robotic jobs. Driving trains is a very robotic job. It can be done by a robot. It will be done by a robot, according to the rules of capitalism. But I don't Here's how I look at it: as it is going to free a huge amount of human awareness and talent that is devoted to firing off train horns. Robot can fire a train horn. And nothing against the train drivers. It's like, great. But we need to be realistic about what's coming. So you can either freak out, oh my God, all the jobs are going away,
Sure.
and the robots are going to take over and kill us.
Oh no.
That's like,
Yeah.
we don't know what's about to happen. But I do know this. There's going to be a lot of people with time on their hands.
Yeah.
Sure.
I think learning how the hell our life support system operates would be a really good thing with that freed pool
Good use
of
of
human
time.
consciousness.
Sure.
Very good use of time. So the funny thing about us is that you can't lead with that. You
Sure.
lead with
Yeah,
fun.
with fun.
It's like, oh, here's a diverting game and da-da-da. I mean, I have this vision of a rover that just
Oh, right.
cruises around with a tortoise all day. You just will get to watch a tortoise at eye level. They're fascinating creatures. A certain set of people will be fascinated by
Sure.
tortoises. Not everybody. They're slow, and you gotta have an attention span to get the most out of it. But if you slow down and if you have a way to witness it,
Sure.
where you don't have to be there physically,
Right.
then you can distribute the experience. And I'm betting that turning conservation into a bunch of games is a really good. It's going to be a real boost in the conservation, the shared sort of conservation is a dumb word too. I don't even know what.
Yeah.
Conservation is just saving,
Right.
conserving. It's like, this is a dance, and we're bad dancers right now. And that thing is an incredible dance floor. The wild earth is an
wild
incredible dance floor, and we just don't know how to do it. And I watch tortoises dancing through their lives, and it's like, how the hell
I know.
does this animal build itself out of this
Yeah.
place? It's like, it's astounding.
It's unbelievable.
And they're so graceful. They are such graceful animals at navigating life. They're so good at it. We have so much to learn from them. If we just slow the fuck down and
Right. That's okay. We cuss on the
And-
show.
and shut up for a while.
I know.
Like, I've just talked for 45 minutes. I could talk for another 3 hours like this.
I know, you and me both.
But shutting up and watching is really good. And so what I have in mind is to offer this to my species.
Mm-hmm.
Will they take it? I can't make them take it. But judging from, I had a friend come with his girlfriend out to another dairy I was working at, and she was this hippie chick, and I put this laser in her hands.
Oh my God.
And she starts shooting ravens.
That's
and
hilarious.
She gets so into it.
Sure.
It's like, this is so fun.
Yeah, right?
Because you don't
It's like
kill
a laser
'em.
gun.
It is a laser
I mean,
gun.
of
It's
like,
a ray gun.
it is, yeah.
It's a freaking ray gun.
Yeah.
And you don't kill them. You don't hurt them even, really. I've never seen one like crash into
Mm-hmm.
an object. I've never seen a midair collision in response to this. It's like, they don't like it, but it doesn't disable them.
It's not a lethal management
No, it's not
technique.
lethal. I view it sort of as an infinite shooting gallery.
Sure.
You shoot them, they come back. Your supply goes down, clearly. I mean, there should be 500 ravens out
Sure.
there, and there's none. This is
know.
actually impressive.
I'm
that
impressed,
there
yeah.
That there are no ravens
I mean,
here.
that is wild.
It is, and it's me.
It's you.
If you
The villain
three
of
had
the
shown
story.
up here,
They'd be everywhere.
Yeah, right?
Oh my gosh.
oh, it's him.
Well, I just thought of a game that would be fun to make, like, because I think
Now
that
you're
there-
getting to the next phase.
Yeah.
So go on. Tell me.
I think there needs to be both this like real time solution, like gamifying in this conservation space, but then there needs to be some that are just sprinkled in everybody's like day to day. So like
Yeah.
the shooting
Candy
game,
Crush.
yeah, the shooting games
Yeah.
that are in bars where you're shooting deer and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
what if that instead of being a deer out in the field and you're shooting it with a gun and killing it, it's actually a desert landscape, and then you're saving the tortoises in the game, shooting the laser guns
Right.
at the ravens, and it kind of
Yeah.
sparks an interest in somebody at a bar thinking that this is a fun game,
Right.
you know,
How does that
whatever.
translate?
And then,
And
you
then
know,
and then I think you follow a certain number of the people are going to dig it, and they'll be curious about it. Like, why? Well, who set this up? Shooting?
Yeah,
why are
sure.
we shooting ravens with lasers? Then they're open. Then they're curious, and you're not coming at them with the program.
Sure. Right.
Come on, you're a
proper-
bad person
yeah.
unless you do this.
Sure. That's
You-
the bad perspective of conservation.
So the game opens a door, and then the door is open, and then it's up to, there's a series of doors to be opened, and I think the games could open doors in people's souls that need to be opened.
That need to be
Because,
opened,
God, we're
yeah.
so freaking lonely.
I know.
Yeah.
We are
wow.
so sad. We're such a sad bunch of people.
I know.
We're so lonely, and it's right there. That's home.
That's home.
And
Yeah.
we have alienated ourselves from home, and like the ironies of it, that pursuing security as a species and wanting a reliable food supply.
Sure.
Again,
Dairy.
everything that's the drives we have, the fear of the wild,
Sure.
and we've just cut ourselves off from it and made this really boring life. The vast majority of us lead pretty boring lives, and they don't need to be. And the technology can help. At least it can show people, hey, it's pretty cool out there.
Spark some curiosity, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Let's make people ask, and then a certain number of people will fall in love with it, and they won't have been browbeaten into it, and they won't be
Sure.
doing it out of a sense of duty.
Sure.
They will be operating. You know, our common interests are that we figure out how to live long term on this planet. Well, tortoises have done it. Turtles and tortoises have been
We have
around
a thing
for
or two to learn from them, right?
275 million years, 300 million years, something like some. We don't even know when the first thing we'd call a turtle showed up, but it was a long time ago.
Sure.
And they scooted right through the KT boundary, like
Yep.
the frickin' hammer of the Lord came down
Yeah,
and
right.
smashed the planet, and turtles
Survived.
got through it.
They're
They
resilient.
went on through it. So it's a great design, and we can learn from them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how have you guys hung around this long? They're conservative. They're careful. They live within the
Their
boundaries of the environment, and I don't know. I would take a little less of human dominance in exchange for a little more human survival.
I like that.
Because if we keep doing the dominance thing, we're gonna crater. It's coming, and we've got it sorted out really fast. And so there was a point. Well, you made a point. It's just like, well, I thought of a game. Da, 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 da. I want there to be a game of making games, like the meta game. It's like
I see.
have design competitions, and I want to set up a network where scientists with a conservation concern come to a group and say, here's the problem, here's what either I need to know, or here's what we need to change, and here's how I could use human consciousness, and the game designing community figures out how to make an entertaining game that accomplishes the goal.
Sure.
And that way, I don't have to make up all the games.
Sure. Well, one question I wanted to ask you is, when did that moment click for you where you're like, I am documenting the decline of tortoises. How can I create solutions? Was there a moment in the
Yes,
field?
there was a single moment.
Let's hear it.
I'm very good at finding tortoises this size, and it's difficult.
That's a hard thing to do.
It's difficult.
like
And
the 6-year-old
The
ravens.
hatchlings.
Yeah.
The hatchlings they come out, they're 38 millimeters long, 50 millimeters at the sort of the middle of their first year, and then they grow to this size. This guy's about 65 or 70.
You really have to develop a search image for that.
Right. And I grew up, when I was a boy, there were enough of them out there that I could get trained on them. I feel sorry for people of your age getting into tort, because you just don't.
I wonder what it was like 50 years
It
ago.
was incredible.
The
I mean,
amount,
we would go out.
abundance of tortoises.
I would a 15 tortoise day, 15 separate individuals was no, like,
That's unheard of
yeah,
today.
oh yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
Unheard of today.
So I had the luxury of developing the search image, and at the tail end of that career of being a tortoise hunter in the wilderness, I went out to a plot that had 175 tortoises on it in 1979. And so I went to redo the plot. It had been done serially over the course of the decades. And I went out in 2011.
Okay.
And I worked my ass off. And I saw one tortoise burrow of a tortoise about this size. And I was sure, okay, I'm going to get that tortoise, because you can focus in on it and revisit it.
Sure.
And it went dormant, and I never caught that tortoise. That was the only possible juvenile tortoise on that plot.
Okay.
And I had a volunteer who was working with me, and she came up one day and she said, well, I saw a baby tortoise, and I kind of did this, and she says it was in the beak of a raven. She saw this like windmilling little tortoise in the beak of a raven, and that broke
That's a jarring sight.
Yeah, it was, and I've seen it a few times, and it's terrible to see, but that was the only sign we had of a living small tortoise, and it was doomed. That one was going to get fed to a brood of ravens, and I just, at that point, it's like, what am I doing just taking notes on this? There's got to be something I can do. So that was a trigger moment. That was a genesis
trigger
moment.
yeah.
It was just like, okay, I got to try to do something. And it was really funny. I followed it up. I started thinking, it's just like radio-controlled airplanes. Chase them with radio-controlled airplanes. And I thought about it. It's like, it doesn't sound real feasible, but it's the only thing I've got. And I was camping with these two botanists, and this was like my coming out moment. I thought, this is probably pretty loony, but I'll give it a try.
Sure.
And I just said, well, I've got this idea of, could we scare ravens with radio-controlled airplanes? And I expect to kind of get laughed at or something like that. And one of them says, that's a really interesting idea. I'm going to sleep on that. And okay.
Some
She
good
gets
feedback.
up in the morning. This is a botanist. She's like 55, something like that, and 50 years old. She gets up in the morning. She says, I used to be an aeronautical engineer at NASA, and I think what you need are drones. And this was like 2011. Drones were
Oh
still
my
just
gosh.
a military thing.
Sure.
And it was like, I'll put you in touch with some people. I know some people
Oh, wow.
that I think could help you. And she did. She put me in touch with a guy named Roy Haggard, who was a brilliant engineer. And he and I worked together for 4 or 5 years. He did the engineering of the egg oiling devices.
Okay, cool.
And did a brilliant job. And that also got me, a dirtbag biologist, to hang out with engineers and realize these guys are completely optimistic.
Sure.
They have so many more tools than they used to have. They can do anything. They feel like they can do anything.
Problem
As opposed
solvers.
to conservation biologists, we're just hammered. We've just been hammered by bad news. You know, there's-
Apathetic.
Yeah, to the point of apathy. Yeah,
To the point of
because you
apathy.
can't. It hurts too much to care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what we have to counteract. But these engineers, they're just like, oh, this is really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because this guy, Roy, he had designed a parachute system to land a radar unit on Mars. Mars has very thin atmosphere. The Earth has very thick atmosphere. And he had to figure his way around, how can I test in Earth atmosphere this machine that's going to, you know, and it worked. And this was the kind of problem he was used to solving. But he had a couple of tortoises when he was a kid. And the idea of
there
engineering
we go.
for
Yeah.
the good of tortoises was really exciting to him.
Perfect.
And I'm like, right now we're working with some student engineers over at San Luis Obispo, Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. And they're all over it. It's just like, wow, we get to do engineering,
Yeah.
but it's for environmental, And you know, your generation is used to thinking about this stuff in a way that my generation was not. I mean, my generation was just dumb as dirt as far as the environment. We
You learned
figured it out
during the
Right.
Green Movement after
Yeah.
Silent Spring. And
when the Cuyahoga River caught fire.
that too.
That 5 times. It actually caught fire 5 times.
Oh,
But
wow.
finally it caught fire, and people said, this ain't right. Rivers
Yeah.
shouldn't be catching on fire. But now engineers have grown up with environmental consciousness,
Sure.
and now the opportunity to apply these skills to something like conservation is exciting to them.
It is exciting.
And that's another pool of human consciousness that we can tap. And it's great.
It's fascinating.
It is. It's really cool. And there's not a freaking raven for a half mile.
I know. Can you believe that?
Take that, black hordes.
Right?
Look, I'm a raven repellent all on my all
hilarious.
by my lonely. This is very funny because I have been here. We do counts here once a month, and this has never happened before.
Well, maybe you can include this in your follow-up.
This is proof of concept.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like I'm the cue and I'm repelling ravens from 3/4 of this dairy. That's an interesting effect.
Absolutely.
And this is them talking to each other.
Yeah.
They haven't all
There's
seen
not a
us.
raven in sight right
There
now.
is not, and this is bizarre.
Unusual.
Right. It kind of cuts the show business aspect, but
That's
it is a really
That's okay.
interesting, it's a proof of concept.
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
We're seeing live
Right. Well,
results.
it's right. I mean, this is great. It's actually great because they're denied the subsidy.
So how long after you got in contact with that engineer until you guys, came up with a drone solution together?
We had one in several months. Wasn't any good. I mean, it was okay, but it was clunky, and it's been really interesting. What I've learned is that engineering follows the same path as evolution, because evolution reduces the number of parts and simplifies structures. That is just like a common pathway. A really good example is the hoof of a horse. They used to have 5 toes, then they went to 3, and now it's a single. They're dancing on a single toenail. That's just like reducing the complexity and the failure points in a system. And in the same way, we start off with these big clunky drones with way too many parts, and
Sure.
gradually we've eliminated more and more parts, and now it's this elegant thing that we can fit on a small drone. And so I don't
There
know
we
what
go.
the significance of that is, other than it's biomimicry.
Biomimicry.
Engineering is an example of biomimicry, in that you try to simplify the system and reduce its vulnerability to failure.
It's interesting too, because in art, like simplifying is always, that's a part of the artistic creation, is how can we simplify? How can we make this more readable in like a less complex way? It's like that in paintings and music and movies.
She's an artist,
And
if you couldn't tell.
yeah, it's
It
just
absolutely
funny
is.
how it
I mean,
shows up in all
the
these
goal
different ways.
is to do. I mean, you look at Chinese painting,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just a gesture, but it has so much resonance.
Yeah.
And I was a watercolorist too. I am, but I was, and I used to paint every frickin' leaf on a tree, and it's just like, oh my God, it was. I look at the stuff I used to paint; it's so laborious and so, oh, poor guy. Now it's like, suggest it,
brushstroke.
make a
Yeah,
suggestion,
yeah.
and focus on the thing that's really going to draw the human eye, and let the rest just, be fuzzy. And it makes painting much more fun that way.
Mm-hmm.
And there's something about life there. It's just like we lead these ridiculously complicated existences.
Yeah.
Quite complex, unnecessarily so.
A lot
Live
of it's
simply.
unnecessarily. And I, that was something that my youth, being out there when there were lots and lots of tortoises, and I was paid to go out and live in the wilderness with them. I got to live in a way that very few modern human beings get to live, and I got paid to do it. It was
That's the adventure of being a tortoise biologist.
great. It was great, and And it was, unfortunately, it was a temporary opportunity. You know, but the goal is bring it back. And that's why I keep doing it, because, you know, there's been a 95+% decline in tortoise numbers over the course of my career. And that is undeniable, and I can't forget that. But you flip it around, there are still tortoises on the planet, and as long as they're here, that is the hope, you know. The hope only dies when they go extinct, and they're not close to it now, and there are ways. I'm getting into working with people that are doing tortoise head starting. So they've developed this amazing, intricate way of tracking female tortoises, knowing when they've laid their eggs, backtracking them because they've got trackers on them to find the nests, to dig the nests up so that they're maximizing the survival of the eggs to hatch. And then they have an accelerated program of tortoise production, and they can get basically a raven-proof tortoise out in a year. So they've massively accelerated the raven-proofing of a tortoise, and this has great potential if we get them past that gauntlet. If you help them avoid that gauntlet of raven predation, we can potentially rebuild tortoise populations, which is a really cool idea. And, you know, it's like, it's what our species ought to be doing. I think we're heading into this phase of, well, it could go any of a number of ways, but my hopeful scenario is that we become a caregiving species we have exploited this planet criminally for about 10,000 years, and it would be nice if we had a sense of, you know, that we owe a debt to it, and
an obligation.
Yeah, an obligation based on the life that it gives us and has given us, and the opportunities. Like, because we had this system of exploitation, we got to have Mozart. Listen to some Mozart music sometimes. It's just like, makes you kind of proud to be a human being.
Sure.
That came out of a human mind.
Yeah.
So, you know, we've had a really cushy run, and we got some Mozarts and some Beethovens, and, you know, we got Picasso out of the deal. Maybe we ought to be paying some attention to how that happened. And it happened because we're on an incredibly rich planet. AI won't have ego unless we program ego into it.
That's
and it
hilarious.
an intelligent entity will realize that ego is counterproductive and eliminate it. And it will be functionally immortal. So think how much human egos, principally male, and a sense of mortality drive our decision making. And we're about to release an incredibly powerful entity that will have neither of those concerns.
Sure.
I think that's hilarious. I think
pretty
that's
ironic.
really funny. And we don't know how it's going to turn out. It's like,
No.
I don't think we're going to have killer robots because killing things isn't very interesting. Humans are very interested in killing things.
That's true.
And that's
That
a
doesn't make
human
it interesting.
response.
Yeah.
The number of responses I've had is, why don't we just have open season on ravens?
That's what she
Why
asked
don't we
me
just kill them?
today. Yeah, she said that.
There are some very good reasons.
Well, you asked if it was a lethal, like,
Well, I was wondering because when you hear lasers, I didn't know if that meant like if there's
Right,
any sort of
vaporizes
like
them or
yeah,
something.
like harming or
Yeah.
you know. But so why do you think maybe not do any sort of like open season for ravens?
Because they're too freaking smart.
that's why. Exactly
I've
why.
talked
Yeah.
to, there's a branch of the government called Wildlife Services. They are predator control agents. They work with us to remove certain ravens that are problematic. We've thought about getting after that group of ravens that has figured out how to flip a tortoise.
Sure.
There are places for lethal control, and these are the people that do it. And they tell me that when there have been nests with 10 or 15 juvenile tortoise carcasses at the base.
At least.
It's really good to remove those ravens from the scene. And I realize might be apostasy among the hypersensitive, but I'm very pragmatic. And they tell me you better get both of those ravens, because if you miss one of them, of a pair, the one that survives will train all of its young and all of its succeeding mates. Well, look at what happened here. This is what happens if you start shooting at them.
They avoid you.
The glory of the laser is they have not habituated to it. They can habituate to, oh, that guy in the white pickup truck, watch out for him, especially if he has a stick in his hand, vanish. Well, then open season is irrelevant because there's nothing to shoot because they're taking themselves out of the game. And they just don't habituate to the lasers. It's a miracle. It's kind of miraculous that they just haven't gotten used to it. They're doing the opposite. They're hypersensitizing. Much less. We have to expend much less effort and much less shooting of lasers in these trained populations now, and it's because they're, they learn, and they haven't habituated. For some reason, they don't habituate to lasers. Lasers just must be really irritating, and so.
How long have you been using the laser technology?
Did you say 12
April
years?
23rd, 2012 was the start date.
I mean, so yeah, that's long enough to see if they, would it make that sort of association, but I guess not.
There's another person who's been central to this that I want to credit. His name is John Marsluff. He did the original research on crow ability to recognize individual human faces. Fascinating research at the University of Washington. And he basically demonstrated that they can discriminate between individual human beings and that the information gets passed through generations somehow.
Wow.
And so his work was really inspiring to me in going this way. It's just like I'm basically taking the insight from his work and making it a practical tool for wildlife management. And it's not going to stop at ravens. This is like, ravens are particularly good students, but I think we vastly underestimate the intelligence of other forms of life. That's our default setting.
Absolutely.
Is that we are on our fucking pedestals.
Yeah, right.
And it's so... Man,
well, and it comes back to removing the ego.
Yeah, right.
And incorporating eco mindset, where we are part of the circle and the web of life.
Just get rid of that little thing on the C, that little line,
right.
that little horizontal line on this
Yeah.
on the C. Turn the G into a C and you got it. And
exactly.
That really is the formula.
100%.
And
there's this quote that I like by Rachel Carson: "In nature, nothing exists alone." How do you feel like that resonates with you and your holistic view of understanding your part in the environment as part of it?
it's absolutely central. It's a delusion. We're in the self-made man. That was a phrase when he's a self-made man. That's complete poppycock. No one is a self-made man.
Sure.
All of these tech bros who are, gonna run the world.
Right.
And it's just like, there's an NPR show called How I Built This, and I think it's an interesting show. It's about entrepreneurs, and it's just a completely stupid title. No one builds anything themselves. That is such a fiction. So everything is connected to everything else, and if you align yourself with the flow of energy, you prosper, and if you ignore that, you may prosper in spite of it, but your life will be hellish. And I look at Elon Musk and I go, that dude is in hell.
He must be.
Would I trade places with I would not trade places if I had to take on, like, I look at him. Donald Trump is another example of someone that is a pathetic human being. And so they are people who impose their will, they think, on reality. What a fucking delusion.
Yeah.
I mean, that is
Insane.
delusional. It's insane thinking. And the amount of insane thinking that surrounds us is impressive and depressive. But what we can do,
In spite of that,
well, let's keep spreading the messages we
Let's
have.
keep having fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's keep having fun in nature.
Right.
And
I've had just
Yeah.
a hell of a great life.
Right?
I've had so much
Yeah.
fun. I have had so much fun.
that's how I feel about
And-
romping around the
yeah,
desert,
and
doing
that's-
tortoise work.
Right. And so sometimes it's grueling, and but
Well, it's an extreme and extremely harsh environment
Correct.
to do work in.
right, it's harsh, and but if you expose yourself to it, you get the goodies you get. You know, well, for me, have far outweighed any costs associated with it. I've been sweaty a lot, and
Sure.
I've fallen down and hurt myself a lot, and
Yeah.
I haven't ever been bitten by a rattlesnake.
Oh,
I'm careful about that, but that doesn't mean it can't happen. It's come close a couple
Sure.
of times. But other than that, it's just like go out and look at this just
The desert
unimaginably
experience.
wonderful planet. And it's everywhere. I mean, it's like nature is so much more complex and interesting than anything. Well, I would reemerge after I'd be out in the desert on a single square mile for 60 days, just like trying to understand it, hunting tortoises, but also just being exposed to this incredible system. And then I would go back into a human city
I know,
and just
yeah.
get pummeled sensorily, but also just like how freaking boring it is. Here's something to do. Like walk through some creosote bush scrub, all right? Every step you take, all of these absolutely unique organisms are changing. Your perspective on them is changing constantly as you walk through just a piece of boring desert. Now go walk down a hallway in a Las Vegas hotel, and it's like there's one pattern on the carpet. Pair of doorways, pair of doorways, pair of doors. It is everything goes to the vanishing point.
Sure.
It's so boring,
Yeah.
so incredibly boring compared to
being in the desert.
well, just watching those mesquites over there blowing the wind. It's like
Yep. I really like your point about just taking a walk through some creosote. And this brings up this really interesting article, scientific article I was reading called The Desert Experience. And it showcases different control groups who didn't walk in the desert and those who did. And the relief that those who had walked through the desert and awe-inspiring feelings just was a behavioral shift in the group that had walked through the desert. And I always like to attribute my spiritual connection to nature to just simply walking through the desert.
Yeah.
It's such an expansive environment to walk through that when you internalize it, you also expand because of just how beautiful it is.
all you're doing is being a human.
Yeah.
And we have dehumanized ourselves since the dawn of agriculture.
Sure.
We have cut against that grain. You know, we've traded security for that sense of wholeness and
Connection.
Right, and connection.
We are lonely species.
We're really lonely, and we don't need to be, and it's sitting out there, and you know, it's like it's just sitting out there waiting
Yeah.
for a few games.
What would your message be to people listening about just how to just get outside, have fun?
Maybe to those that are listening that actually disagree with your point and think that being in nature is boring, what would you say to them and to spark their interest?
That's an interesting question.
I like your take on that.
Yeah,
Because
no,
I know
that's good.
there's
Yeah.
a lot of people I know that think that taking
Nature
a
is
walk is
boring.
boring.
Here's a moment. I gave this kid from Kansas, I gave him a ride through the Mojave Desert. He was hitchhiking. He had gone into LA and had everything he had got stolen. And he was just broken, and he was going back to Kansas. And so I gave him a ride, you know, and I was listening to his story. And we get out to the East Mojave near Clark Mountain, and he looks out over this Sema Dome.
Oh, Sema Dome,
Incredible Joshua Tree.
Beautiful.
Like, wonderful. And and I'll never forget this. He's going, he's like, man, there's a whole lot of nothing out there.
Classic desert response.
Exactly. It's not my job to convince someone to be not bored by the desert, but I would suggest as someone who's reveled in it for a half century, that you, and it doesn't have to be the desert, it's any piece of living earth. It takes a while to start to understand the language of the place, but it's a rich reward, potentially rich reward. And if you're bored for a while and you can't get into it, then go back to the city. But
It takes patience.
it takes patience, and I would say find someone. Okay, here you need a guide, because you're entering into terra incognita, and you will likely miss much of the magic simply because you don't have a way to interpret the magic or even understand that it's going on. So I would say go find someone who does love it and go out there with them and see it through their eyes.
Yeah, I like that way of putting it.
Yeah, that's the way.
Well, I
That's
think
a way.
to your point about just what can people do who might think nature is boring, it's like you have to understand what exists beneath the surface. And to the human eye in the desert landscape, sometimes we aren't adept to see what's beneath the surface. And most animals in the desert are burrowing creatures.
Right.
So it's like, how do we get them to understand and not think that it's boring?
You know, the desert's a tough sell because it is harsh, and its beauty can be grotesque. Like you look at a Joshua tree. The other night I went over with my phone camera, and I thought, there's a quote from one of the earliest botanists who encountered a Joshua tree, and he just went off on how grotesque and how terrible it was. And
Yeah,
because
one of the
he's
first
used to,
observations,
you know,
right?
and he's used to spruce trees and magnificent oak, and all of a sudden there's this twisted kind of gargoyle-looking plant. So I went out with my camera and I said, I'm going to try to make this look as grotesque. Like, what's the most grotesque aspect of this? And it was very tight shots of just spines and no pattern to it, just spiny arms extending out. And one, it had a blonde set of sort of dying spines that was coming right out toward and I made that central in the photograph. And so it's a hard place to love. If you're going to do the desert, wait for a rainy winter. Wait until there's been a rainy winter. Don't go out there until it rains well, and then go out in the Mojave, go out in late March through mid-April when the flowers are at their most glorious, and that's when it's got its makeup on, and it's like, holy shit, it's beautiful.
Stunning.
It smells so wonderful. All the
creosote,
flowers
the
and the
flower,
creosotes.
yep.
Go out after a rain. Like, I'm giving you the best shot at falling in love with the desert, with the Mojave Desert
I like
anyway.
that.
You know, let it go out when when it puts its best foot forward, according to our standards, because we like pretty colors and we like, and it will be massively more lively. The lizards will be out, the birds will be singing, tortoises if you're really lucky. Springtime.
The most beautiful time of year.
Yeah, go out then, and I would suggest go find your own place. Don't go to, I mean, you go to Joshua Tree National Park, it's wonderful. It's really packed with people. It's just kind of overrun. There's a shitload of BLM land.
Plenty of BLM land.
To go out and explore and be alone. That's the other thing.
Be alone in the desert.
Be alone for a while. Take your guide with you, but like cut it down and don't talk so much. Just like take it in.
Well, that's the beauty of the desert. It invites this silence and self-inquiry within you, and then you start thinking of all of these ideas or ways to give back, and it's because of that alone time in nature that you can expand internally.
Well, and also to that, like, boredom is the first step to creativity.
Yep.
When you allow yourself to be bored, when you put your phone down, not scrolling and like, you know, just shoving your consciousness of all of this city stuff.
Maybe it's not boredom, but it's a lack of a constant flow of stimulation. Like, give yourself a break from that.
Yeah.
And the stimulation that comes from a place like the desert is much slower and subtler. It's kinder though as well.
I like that.
And it's, you know, it's a pace that it'll take you a while. Give yourself a while because you have been programmed. If you think nature is boring, you have been well programmed by a system that profits by having you think that. And if you want to be subversive, go fall in love with a chunk of the planet. If you're pissed off about your state of being, it's because you've been programmed quite deliberately by people who are taking advantage of you. And so I would examine that condition in myself. If I'm bored by something, why is that? And in whose interest is my boredom? And is someone inculcating this boredom in me? You know, it's like I think we're kind of enslaved.
A little bit by technology and having our needs met and
Consumerism.
So I'm,
Yeah.
you know, I'm doing this little dance with a system that can create this, which is a wonderful tool. It's seductive, and it can make you think well, this can make you feel powerful.
does it make you feel like you can play God a little bit?
Yes, absolutely.
I was going to ask you about
the first
that.
moment where I shot a laser, we had just put 250 ravens who had never experienced lasers before, and they were just like milling around, and the guy held the laser and, "You want to shoot this?" I said, "Hell yeah, I do."
I want to shoot it.
And I shot it out into the space in front of a raven. This was easily 3/4 of a mile away, and I purposely didn't shoot it. I shot in front of it to see, and that thing did a 180, just like "Wah!"
Oh my
and
goodness.
flew back the other way. That was intoxicating. After having the closest I had come to any experience like that was picking up a rock and chasing after a raven that I thought might be harassing tortoises, and I never got close to a raven.
That's
with a rock.
hilarious. You
Yeah.
started with the rock, and now look at you. You
I
have
went
this
from the
tool.
Stone Age to this,
Literally.
like that.
Yeah.
And it's really good, and I think that we as a species have bought a ticket. We don't have a way out of this. We have to go through the technological. We have to take the technological path. We have we've closed off non-technological options to ourselves. There's too many of us. Our hunger is too extreme, and the only way we're going to manage our way out of this mess we're in is through technology. And I am a Luddite. At heart, I'm a Luddite. I loved my life out there, living dirt simply,
Technology free.
with a 35 millimeter camera. That was the most elaborate piece of technology I interacted with for years and years and years. And now I'm doing this, and it's out of desperation. It's like if we don't apply these tools, we're going to lose the tortoise, and we're going to lose a lot of other things if we don't apply the tools. And my shtick is that the game idea can release a huge amount of human consciousness and energy and love that is currently
Bottled
being
up.
denied to the earth.
I like that.
The earth doesn't need
Expression
it.
of love.
The earth doesn't need our love, but we need to love the earth. It's like that's our only way out. And right now we're a screen culture, and I think the only way we're going to get it is by using the screens. And God Almighty, the screens are kind of pernicious.
Plentiful.
They're plentiful. And I look at it just as a pragmatic matter. It's like that's the only way to reach large numbers of people. Getting them to go out, I want them to go out and walk in the desert. But the invitation they're going to have to receive is, check out this machine. It's going through the desert. Look at the desert through this machine's eye. And some number of them will say, I want to go smell that place.
Yeah.
And I want to go feel the crunch of the gravel.
The sensory.
I want to feel.
Emotions.
I want to feel the breeze.
Yeah.
This breeze right now is beautiful.
Yeah.
It has been a stunning spring
Right. It has.
in the
It's been
Mojave
an
Desert.
amazing
It's
spring.
been very nice.
Dry.
Dry,
Way drier.
yes.
But I mean, the temperature. It's like, what is it? May 26th.
I'm shocked.
It is shocking.
Yeah.
And this is the third year in a row it hasn't been beastly. I don't know. It's interesting.
Well, is there anything that you want to say or touch on before we wrap up that we haven't
maybe.
already?
Just love the planet.
Yeah.
Period.
It's pretty easy.
It is.
And it's like, it's so rewarding. And I look at the pathology in our culture, and it comes from loneliness and fear, and we have good reason to be afraid of the cage we built for ourselves. But you're not condemned to that cage. We're staying voluntarily. And the richest parts of my life have been when I've been on the periphery of the cage. I don't fool myself that I have escaped the cage. The cage is my dependence on agriculture and technology. You know, you and I go out to these chunks of desert, and we have to have our life supports, our little pod.
If I didn't have my car, we would die.
Yeah, we would die out there.
We would die.
And so there's this...
we like our comforts, our creature comforts.
But we can use them to get us adjacent to and actually interacting with the real world. You know, we've created a world, and it's a world that, you know, has fostered a ridiculous growth in the number of ravens. It's absurd. And what they're telling us is how wasteful we are, because if we weren't providing all these opportunities, raven numbers wouldn't have, you know, gone up 1,000%. So the lessons they're coming in all the time. And I would say it's love the planet and also pay attention. Learn to pay attention however you can and whatever your circumstance. And nature's everywhere. It's like, it's in the cockroach that's scuttling across your kitchen floor. What an amazing creature the cockroach is. Really is amazing. These flies that are buzzing around. I could go on a 3-hour soliloquy about flies. These things are incredibly sophisticated creatures. They are easily as evolutionarily advanced. They're probably more advanced evolutionarily than human beings, actually. And fucking flies.
I know.
Yeah.
They're amazing. It's a fractal universe, and every chip, every tiny bit of it that I've ever looked at has revealed the glory of the whole.
Web of life.
It's the web of life, and God Almighty, we're in it.
Yeah.
Whether we want to be or not, we're in it, and we better learn how to manage it.
Not as separate, but as whole.
Right, and we don't have to do it with this sense of drudgery and obligation. It's like, it is really fun, and it is an incredible puzzle. And so, check it out. It's your planet. Go out there. It's just sitting there waiting for you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for bringing us to this amazing location and
Amazing.
And this amazing lack of ravens.
yeah. Well,
Although I am gonna, you see those guys out there?
yeah.
I don't know if you can shift the, no, you won't pick it up on an iPhone camera. Never mind. But I'm gonna just show you. I'm gonna run this beam out. There's one, you'll see it fly.
Oh,
Boink.
wow.
And notice how it flew long before the beam was anywhere near it.
Yeah.
Okay, and now let's watch the reaction. Watch, I'm gonna, well, okay, there's 3 on a roof. Now there's 2 on a roof. I'm gonna run it up. The cows, by the way, aren't harmed by the laser beam. I'm gonna just shoot kind of up here in the middle of the thing. Watch what happens.
Oh, yeah.
So that's a 1.5 seconds of laser firing. And I will also say that the vast
they're all over
majority,
there.
the vast majority of these ravens have left. This is a very paltry,
Small subset.
This is a very paltry show for this place, and so this gives me such confidence in our ultimate success in doing this subsidy denial. And look at that. I mean, that's
Wow.
hundreds of them, and they are responding to the response of responders, and this is the power. Like,
And that was like a 2-second
exactly.
flash of light.
So think about the mathematics of how much raven energy is being expended for how little human energy was expended. This is a solvable problem. And here's another thing, is hope.
Yeah.
This thing is not hopeless.
No,
We
it's
have
not.
tools. we have abilities, we are intelligent creatures, and we have a god-awful big problem to solve, but it's a chance to be heroic. Like, I don't feel like a hero, but I'm kind of doing hero stuff. It's just like,
you're the tortoise Batman.
This is right. This is there are opportunities to do good and to have fun and to wire yourself into the larger whole. And I don't know, it's really fun.
It is
I
fun.
have a hell of a lot of fun.
I have a great
This
time.
has been
This
fun.
is
Yeah,
fun.
this has been fun.
That's why I started the podcast,
Right.
because I meet all these cool people on
Yeah.
my journey in field biology. I
Right.
met you at the Living Desert Zoo, and everyone has such a unique story, and that's exciting and fun, and that excites
Yeah.
other people.
Right. I mean, how we feel now is how we should feel figuring out this giant puzzle.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
Make it
and
fun.
the sense of community that it could evoke as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're such a sad operation right now, and we really don't need to be,
Yeah.
because this is in the common interest of every human being, is figuring out how this system works.
Mm-hmm.
This is a little bit of the puzzle. It's a tiny bit of the puzzle, but it is, like I said, it's a fractal fragment of a puzzle, which is, how do humans persist on this planet? How do we keep tortoises? And how do we keep ravens contained?
And for those listening, there was a number of ravens about a half an acre away that you just shot a laser at, and now there's like none. I mean, they've all gone all the way over there, and even some of those flew away.
Fie, a pox upon thee. And I am the pox.
Well, thank you so
Sure.
much for taking the time.
That was a gas.
We appreciate you.
Yep.
This has been a great interview.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun to see what you do with it.
So to end the episode with some anxiety into action, it can be really,
They're mating.
there can be a lot of anxiety over the fact that the desert tortoise is on this huge decline. But as we can see, there's a bunch of technology that Tim is creating to hopefully help with that. And then also,
It already is helping.
yeah. And we also see a lot of other solutions that we'll talk about in other episodes as well.
And that's where I feel like there's so much action to take after listening to this episode. And it's inspired action. There's a difference between just taking action and taking inspired action. And I feel like after listening to Tim's episode and doing the interview with him, I felt inspired. Because he's inspired. He is so devoted to the desert tortoise. And that gives me hope.
Yeah.
And having fun with it. That
Having
was such
fun,
a big takeaway.
yeah.
Like, just have some fun with it. Get outside, go observe a raven, go observe a desert tortoise.
Yeah. And also use your imagination. We talk about gamifying conservation. So, do some brainstorming. Maybe you have the next big game in conservation and how we can, bring that element into conservation, the fun element. And a shout out to a recent show on Netflix that dropped. It's called All the Sharks, and our previous guest, Randy Thomas, was on it. And I feel like it's the first reality game show that's centered around conservation in like a really big way. And I just love that, we had this episode with Tim. You and Randy have a desert connection as well. And then, just a few months later after we recorded with Tim, all the sharks coming out, I was just like, this is exactly like what we're talking about, is like making conservation fun.
It absolutely is about making it fun. And All the Sharks is such a cool way to bring people from all walks of life into understanding shark biology. And now Tim is doing that with his message for desert tortoises. So you can watch his TEDx video as well.
Yeah.
That's a great way to get inspired action. And there is a difference when you feel someone else's passion, and that feeling that is left inside of you, that's the spark that you take with you to keep pushing that message in some way that resonates with you. And whether that's with video games or volunteering with a nonprofit, sharing this message, inspired action is at the heart of everything. Go watch his TEDx and you'll get inspired. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Planet People. We are thrilled to have you as part of our community of wildlifers who care about protecting the planet for future generations to enjoy.
We hope that by listening, you feel inspired to connect with nature and become a steward of the planet by getting involved and taking action with your local community conservation organizations. Until next time, stay positive, planet people.
This episode was produced by Natalie Jean Sybil, Coral Carson, and Hugh Carr. Directed and edited by Coral Carson. Theme song by Hugh Carr under the artist name Flama.